So I look out this morning and I see our parishioners who are not afraid of being a little hot to go be close to Jesus. So with our parable today, let's start with a question. Can money buy you happiness? We would like to say not, but the world that we live in seems to think so. So many pressures. We're constantly bombarded with that message that we need to have this money, we need to buy these things, the materialistic culture of advertising. There's all this pressure to keep up with the Joneses. We have to have this kind of house. I need to live in this kind of area. I need this kind of car, these kind of clothes, these electronic devices. If my kids don't have this, that, or the other thing, I'm considered a bad parent. All those sorts of things. But there are some secular studies out there, and among them, one was done by Princeton University in 2010. And they found that at a certain point, an increase of income did not necessarily increase happiness. And of course, happiness, especially defined in a secular way, it can be a wide-ranging, difficult thing to kind of define, whether that means emotional well-being, security, life of ease, that sort of thing. Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's a clinical psychologist and professor and one of the great social commentators of our time, he put it pretty succinctly. He says, we really shouldn't be pursuing happiness, we should be pursuing meaning. And he says, too, that of his look at the studies is that actually, after all of our bills are paid for the basic things of, food, shelter, clothing, that basic security of life, is that increased money does not add any sense of a deepened meaning unless it's spent on others or spent for the increase of that meaning of one's life. And so it's interesting how this, in the secular world, has kind of come to this. Now, we're blessed is that we don't have to search for or to define what happiness is or what meaning is. Right? It's been revealed to us. What is happiness? What brings true, lasting, secure, eternal happiness and meaning in life? It is being with God. That's the purpose of being human, is to be with God. And to be with him ultimately forever in heaven. And so that's the ultimate goal of life. And so our material blessings, whatever they might be, whatever amount they might be, should be aligned to accomplish that meaning of going to heaven. So the fundamental question for us Christians is that, am I using my material blessings, whatever they are, again, whatever amount they are, am I using those material blessings in a way that will bring me and those entrusted to me to heaven? That's the question. And so it's with that question that we can look at this, in some way, unsettling parable from the Lord. Right? It's a parable that goes right against worldly thinking. It goes right against the world that we live in. Now, one of the things we should notice about this parable is the problem with this man is not that he's rich. Right? Jesus is not indicating some sort of Marxist class warfare here, that if you're rich, you're evil. It's like that's not the case here. Jesus doesn't condemn riches in themselves. And this is true. I know this in my own life. Some of the most generous, good people I know are tremendously wealthy. And I've also known people of meager means who are greedy and resentful. So it's not the problem is not the fact that he has this wealth. The problem is in his heart. He thinks the beneficiary of these riches is himself. And he gets there because he makes a fundamental mistake. I don't know if you caught it. It's a little bit subtle. Whom did he consult about this newfound wealth from his own hard work? Whom did he consult? It says here from Luke, he asked himself, whom did he not consult about that? The Lord. The man is turned in on himself in this ungodly self-reliance. He does not thank the Lord for his rich harvest. He simply pats himself on the back. And so these riches become a snare of greed that destroys him. And he thinks his riches will give him a comfortable life, but what happens? He dies before he can enjoy it. And then is summoned before the Lord in judgment to give an account for that wealth. The idea that more money brings us happiness and security is a lie from our enemy. Hear that ringing in our hearts. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity, says Qoheleth. And so what kind of takeaway can we have from this parable? Well, I think we can conclude this at least. The blessing of material wealth is not given to me so that I can live a more and more and more comfortable life. Let's say that again, because it really goes against the world that we live in. My material blessings is not so that I can live a more and more and more comfortable life, a greater life of ease. Why is that? Because we are not made for this world. We're passing through this world. We're made for something much greater. We're made for eternity. We're made for heaven. And so we don't want to get comfortable here. And this blessing of material wealth is not to make our home here. Rather, the Lord gives it to us so that we may do good with it, that we can extend his kingdom, that we can use it in a way that brings people to him, whether that's in our family or those around us, our neighbors, whatever. That is what it means to become rich in what matters to God. Because the human soul is priceless. It's of infinite value. That is the wealth that the Lord wants, our souls saved, given to him, to live with him forever. What matters most to the Lord is that human beings are saved. And so, to this end, let me just throw out there 4 suggestions. 4 things that we can do to embody the parable, to react to the parable. The first is this: be grateful. Be a person, a man, a woman, a child of gratitude. That's what it means to be a Eucharistic person, right? Of giving thanks to God, of being grateful to him for whatever we have. A grateful heart protects against greed and resentment. A grateful heart that expresses gratitude even in the challenges and the crosses of life. Because the one that is living a Eucharistic life, one living in Christ, can already be filled with the joy, no matter how poor or rich we are. A grateful heart recognizes that everything we have and are comes from him who is good. And he's given us a stewardship over these things. That's the first thing. Second suggestion: be generous. Be a generous man, woman, child. Let generosity characterize us. This is what, as Christians, we should be in the habit of giving. That generosity should just be part of who we are, right? Because it flows from that gratitude. So that has to do with our material blessings, like how much of our material blessings is flowing out in generosity to others, to the church, to charitable organizations, to helping those in need, right? The biblical number was 10%. Right? Most of us today would just be like, oh my gosh, my head would explode. I'd be destitute if I gave 10% away. And I know there are people in the parish who do that, and all of them will tell me, like, somehow it's like, it kind of comes back, right? That the Lord takes care of things. But if it's not that, what about 1%? Is 1% going out? Right? And as Americans, our money we have a lot of value in it. And so often is where we place our money is what we value. So is my money being a tool of generosity? And it's not only that too, but it's also our time and our talent, our gifts. Do I have time to help someone else? When I see somebody in need, do I take the time to help them? Do I get involved, right, of all the good works that go on here at the parish? And that could be not only helping those in need, but it could also be prayer. Like if I'm retired and I now have more time on my hands to come to daily Mass, right, becoming a prayer warrior for the good of souls. Third suggestion. Now we're getting some more nitty-gritty. Simplify your possessions. This can be a great way of living gospel simplicity. We actually need so much less than what we think we need, or what we're told we need. And those extra things choke us. Right? In the culture of advertising, it's just so easy to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. So think of the cupboards and the closets. Is there anything in my house that I haven't touched for 6 months? I don't need it. You don't need it. Someone else might need it, right? And as you know too, is like that stuff that accumulates and just sits there, it loses its purpose. Like sometimes we keep something so long and don't use it that by the time we go to give it away, like nobody wants it because we've already gone past that with a certain appliance or tool. So to simplify your possessions. And then one final suggestion is a book. It's a small book, and it's written by Father Thomas Dubay, who was one of the great spiritual writers of our time. It's a little book that is called Happy You Poor. Happy You Poor. I would invite us to read that book. It can be a little uncomfortable to read, but it is liberation. It's very freeing. An excellent way to open one's heart up to the way Jesus wants us to live in this world with our material blessings. So what does the Lord desire? He desires us to respond to this invitation, to respond to his word. The parable, like all his parables, has a warning to it, that we do not end up like this man, but rather that we become rich in what matters to God. To use our material riches to do good for others, to build up the kingdom, to help people on the way to salvation. After all, as St. Paul just told us, we have died and are buried now in Christ. We live a new life. We live a different life, a life apart from the worldly values that lead to destruction. And because we live this new life, we're to seek what is above and to align all of our blessings in this world to attain that goal, to live the life of heaven.